welcome to the final episode of the Interview with Scientist series, Season 1. Today we have, and most of us know her through her Instagram account, emilia.science, where she shares great science videos, and we all enjoy that a lot. Emilia is a science technician and a STEM ambassador working at the 𝐬𝐭𝐡 School in Cambridge. She has completed her studies in Italy, where she gained a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in microbiology and virology. Along with her lab tech role, Emilia does workshop and STEM clubs in the school, where she works from nursery up to grade 11. Welcome, Emilia. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So tell us something about your science video that you create for Instagram. How do you do it and what's your goal?
Okay, so I have started the job as a lab technician just 6 years ago. So it's it's still something new for me.
Okay.
And it was a different thing, and I enjoyed it to change the career. I like my new job. I'm very happy. I'm very happy to work with the kids. And the Instagram account, I didn't think too much about it. It was, I opened it because I remember that, well, every year there is an event for the lab technician, which is called Technician, which is like an event to recognize the hard job we do. And sometimes it's a bit like underestimated in schools. So our role is a bit like, because we work behind the curtains, as I always say, some people don't actually realize what we do. But we actually are, I think, a great resource for the science department. And even teachers, they always say that they will be a bit lost without us. So it's a very good thing. And we work very well as a team. And so this event is just that you need to post some picture about your work, what you do in your prep room, just to make everyone aware of your role and your job. And I remember that year, I didn't know how to share my work because I didn't have an account, I didn't have anything. So a colleague of mine said to me, why you don't open an Instagram account? You can share all the picture, and you know, you also for yourself, it's a nice thing. I was a bit skeptical because I was not so good with pictures and things. I have never been so keen to show myself too much. So I decided, okay, I'll give it a go. And so I opened this account and I started to just share my things, what I was doing in the prep room. And then I started enjoying it. And I thought actually it was a good way to reach the kids, because I work a lot with the kids and I really want to interest them in what we do, in science especially. And I thought it was a good way to involve them. So I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to carry on with this. And so you know, when you start doing something, it's my character is a bit complicated because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So when I start something, I need to do it well, properly. Like I have to feel that I have done my best. So it's unfortunately, sometimes it brings me problems because being too perfectionist, sometimes it's a problem because, of course, you work very hard. And I have to say, I work very hard and I like to work hard. It's my weakness, to be honest. It's a bit like to be a bit addicted to to work.
Your videos show that you work really hard to get those videos out, and that takes a lot of time, I know, on creating videos. And yeah, as scientists, I know the importance of technicians. They are the backbones of the lab.
Thank you. Well, to be honest with you, they don't take too much time. Because, as maybe you haven't noticed, I always try to avoid to explain things in the video, because that takes a lot. Because, of course, if you're doing a video and you talk and you speak and you explain things, sometimes you do a mistake, so you have to do it again and again. I experienced that when I was in lockdown. I was home and I wanted to do something. I wanted to keep doing my work. So what I did was I was trying to show some activities that you can do at home.
Okay.
And so I was recording in my kitchen some experiments that you can easily do at home.
Yes.
And then I was posting them. And I realized how much job is taken to put that. Because actually sometimes, you know, when you do a picture or a video of something, it's like 3 seconds, it's done. But when you have to talk and you have to explain why you're doing that, the science behind, and if you're not so used to speak in front of a camera like I am, because I have always avoided that. That actually was my very first time. So it took a bit of time, but it was okay because I had nothing to do basically, nothing to do at work basically. So I give that the priority. But now I can't do it much because, of course, work it's quite busy, and so I need to prioritize my job first, and then I can. But I am always happy to share what I'm doing in my prep room. I'm happy to share what I do in the workshop. Actually, I would like to share more. I really would like to share how I work with the kids live when I'm in the classroom. Especially, and I would like to do that, especially when I'm with the small ones, because when you are with the big ones, it's like your job. So it's they are at school, and there's nothing. I mean, it's just like a classroom that is watching you perform a demonstration, an experiment, and sometimes they get excited, sometimes they get bored. So of course, we are talking about teenagers. Yeah. But when you talk about the kids, the small ones, there it's really fun, because the kids, the small one, the one in primary school, they are so easily amazed. And I'm so happy to work with them, because they always amaze me. And even when they see me just with the lab coat and the goggles, and they start looking at me like, oh my God, okay, she's a scientist. They are so enthusiastic, and it's a pleasure to work with them. And I like their reaction when you show them something, and I like them, the amazement that I see in their eyes. And unfortunately, that enthusiasm is a bit lost when they grow up, because I think this is a bit of our fault. I mean, not mine, yours, but our, like, the system. Because maybe science, I think it's taught in a nice way, but not enough. So they should have more fun doing more practicals and less theory. Yeah. And I think if we did that, they would be more keen to pursue a science career. Yeah. This is my opinion. But of course, I'm not even a teacher, so I can't do much about that.
No, that's a great opinion, actually. I share the same opinion. Like, being more practical is more important than theory-based. So, moving on to the next question. You are a woman in science, so what kind of problems did you face or are currently facing as a woman in STEM?
Sorry, can you say again? I can't hear you very well.
I was saying, like, what problems do you face as a woman in STEM?
Okay, so unfortunately, there are still a lot of prejudice. And many people deny that. But for what I can say, from my personal experience, I think I have never been in the position to be, not to get something because I'm a woman. This is not true for me, for myself. Okay. Because if you work hard and if you show what you can do, I'm sure that you can get what you want. The only thing is that sometimes you have to work more. And the reason you have to work more is because there are some difficulties, which unfortunately you have them because you are a woman. For example, if you have a family, and you know, even if you have the support of your partner, but you are the one that you are the mom, and sometimes when your kids want the mom, they don't want daddy, they want mommy. So there are some difficulties that they are there, and you can't do anything about it. If we talk about work, well, there are some stereotypes that's still there, and I see that at school as well. The fact that women are a bit like if you have to like you have to have like an image of a scientist and fit the label that they sometimes give to the scientist.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like you are not like credible.
Okay.
You are not like they think, oh, really? You are science. You don't look like a scientist. I have heard this sentence million of times since I start my career as a scientist. When I work in the hospital, much more than now. And I remember that was a bit upsetting, because every time I had to explain that, yes, I am. And I like also to take care of my body. I like to take care of my image. And I am a woman as well. And so as a woman, I like to look pretty. If I can, of course, because it's something that all women like, and men, I'm sure. I mean, it's something that all people like, to be nice, and why not? So, and that is still there. I can see that a lot. And still now, I mean, sometimes even on here, on Instagram, people message me, and a lot of time I have heard, oh, you know, you don't look like a scientist. What do you do? I mean, it's my page, you can see what I do. Maybe because I'm not a researcher, and because now I am in the school system in education, I'm not considered a scientist anymore, but I am a scientist because I'm a microbiologist. And the fact that now I have moved to a different career, it doesn't mean that I'm not a scientist anymore. My skills are still there, and actually I use them to teach kids to be in the lab and, you know, to inspire them. So I feel lucky because I can show them and I can help them to embrace a science career, which is a great thing. But there is a lot of this thing. I mean, we have to, I think the women, we have to work hard, because every time we have to prove that we can do it. Okay. It's like every day we have to prove that we are able to do our job, and we are able to do our work, and we are strong enough to lift something from the ground. We don't need to call someone. And sometimes even that is a problem. When you think, you know, like, but I can do it, I am strong enough, and you know, it's like, it's every day is like that. But as I said before, we don't have to be too close mind. I mean, we have to face the fact that we are different, and we have needs that maybe, not maybe, that are different from your needs. Yes. And we have the right to be also moms. We have the right to be wives. And we have to, we don't have to reject that, because we don't have to choose. This is something that I really try to tell the others. I have done that. I've chosen my family over my career. Yeah. And I did that because I wanted to do it. But if you feel like you have to do it, then it's not good anymore. Okay. It's not good anymore because it's like an obligation. Yes. And when you do things because you have to, it's not good. You have to do things because you want them. And we should work on that. We should support women to embrace their career, but also to be wives and to be moms, because it's important. And family is something incredibly important. Yeah. That this doesn't mean that if you don't want kids, or if you prefer to have a career instead of taking care of your kids, you are a bad mother. It depends on your personality, it depends on your character, it depends on your needs. The only thing that I'm saying is that we should be supported and helped in this choice. And that will become like a choice. Otherwise, it's like an obligation, and it's not good.
No, I completely agree with you. There is still a lot of inequality in science between men and women are treated sometimes very inferiorly, like they don't exist, or they cannot do two jobs at a time, and I'm completely against that. Women and men are equal, everyone is equal, so we should treat them respectfully as we treat men.
Yeah, and also the fact is that maybe we should also understand that women and men are different, and they have different needs. So yes, we are equal, but we have a different background, and we face different experience in life. So we should support each other.
Yeah.
Be successful.
Yeah. So, continuing in this question, in this theory, what are the solution to these problems? How can we change the system?
Well, we need to educate the kids. It started with them. Now, I mean, I always say I have done what I had to do in my life. I mean, it's not that, you know, I have done. So I don't think I want to do anything else in my life. I mean, I'm happy with this job. I think I will continue with this until I will have the strength to do that. But what we can do is to educate the kids to these ideals and to these values. So it starts in the classroom. And I know it's important, of course, we have to teach science. It's why we are there. But we also have to teach values as respect, equality, and I think maybe the most important one is respect. Respect the other people's opinion, and respect that not everyone is like us. So we need to understand that we can work together. Of course, we won't agree on everything, but we can support each other. And this is important. That's why it's so important for the kids already in primary to do science. It's because I think science teaches you a bit that. When you are in a lab, you have to work as a team. Sometimes it's very important, the team in a lab, because of course otherwise you can't reach your your goals. But it's also important sometimes argue. It's important to argue because you understand better what you want, and also it's an exchange of ideas. So maybe you make me think things that I didn't think about it. And the same could be with me telling you what I think. So, and this is what happens when you do, like, for example, an experiment. You try things and you think, oh, look, I think this should be done in this way because it's better. And you say, oh, I don't agree. Oh, yes, I'll show you. And, you know, it's working together. And this is like a teamwork skill, which is important to develop. And they can do that if they start doing it since they are in primary school. So I always say it's not so much important in the primary school that they understand why it happened, the science behind that. Of course, it's important if they understand, but the most important thing that they understand is how to work as a team, how you work with other people, to investigate, to understand why something happened, to wonder about things, to wonder how you can improve something. And this, if you apply all this in normal life, like everyday life, then it's like you don't need anything else. Yes.
No, it's very important to educate the kids, the next generation, and most importantly, to teach them equality.
Oh, yes. And also to look back, because I think history, it's very important. Some people think it's boring, and you know, some kids say, why we have to study about things that are not real anymore, they are obsolete. I had a question like that just a few weeks ago, and a kid asked me why we have to study the atoms, how they understood about it. If now we know, I mean, we almost know everything, but why we have to study the wrong theory? And I say to him, look, because when you look at the other people's mistake, you understand how they get over them. And it's important, if we look at the back and we look our mistake, what we have done in the past, it's like we educate ourselves every day, which is important. And you know, if you look at the history, if you look at the back, what we have done, if you look at the role of women in science in the past and now, we have done so much, and it's beautiful because we have worked so well, but there is still so much to do. And it's important, we know that. We look at the back, we look at the past, and then we can improve the future. This is what I think.
Great philosophy, actually. So when students ask you these kind of questions, how do you motivate them? Like, you must be getting a lot of questions like these. So how do you keep your students?
Well, I know that motivation is a very tricky thing because sometimes the kids are just bored. They don't want, they have lots of distraction nowadays, much more we used to have, to be honest. So I understand sometimes it's very difficult, but the only thing that I say to them quite often is, I know it's a bit of a sacrifice today, but it's the only way you can build your future. There is no other way. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you can think that you have to be bright to pursue something. Well, yes, but not so much. Yes. The important thing is you have to sit down on your desk and you have to apply yourself. If you don't do that, you can be the brightest kid in the world. You won't succeed. So it's a bit of sacrifice. It's a bit of working hard. And actually, the thing is that many kids, sometimes they study because of the grade, because of the mark. This is another mistake. You have to study and you have to understand things for the pleasure to understand what you are doing. Sometimes I can see that they do practicals in the lab and they don't understand what they're doing because all they are focused on the results. They are focused on the mark. They want to finish everything to show the teacher and say, look, I've done. So, okay, I've finished. It doesn't work like that. It's better if you don't have the results, but you have understood why you have done that. And why you have that result. Or why you don't have it. Because sometimes this happens. Sometimes something doesn't work. Lots of times in the lab, and they are very frustrated. And I tell them, look, this is science. Sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't work, and you have to live with that. So the only thing is to understand why you're doing that, to understand what you are studying. So just not to learn everything by heart and repeat to the teacher. That doesn't mean anything, because the next day you will forget, and it's nothing will stay in your head. But if you understand something, if you understand what you've done, if you actually, a trick that I have always done in my life, and it worked always. So if you, for example, when you revise, you have to imagine you have another person in front of you, and you have to pretend you are explaining to this person what you have done, like you are the teacher. Because if you are able to explain something to another person, that means that you have really understood it. Some people say, oh yes, I got that. Yeah, I know, I understood. And then I say, okay, so repeat it to me. And they start doing like, so you think you understood it. You think it's in your head. But actually, if you are not able to repeat it with easy words, using your word, and explaining to me like I'm the kid and you are the teacher, then you haven't understood. So it's the method of studying that sometimes I see that is missing in the kids. They don't have it, which is a shame. We should teach them how to study because they don't know. So it's not just explaining the lesson. We have to teach them how to remember it and how to study it. And that is the most important part.
And I totally agree with you, because understanding the concept is important. Once you understand the concept, you can use it anytime. And if you can explain it to someone else, like I used to do that as a kid. I used to study something and I used to go and explain that to my mom. And if she understood and if I could explain it to her, I know that I will never forget this.
I see a lot of people are writing here. I'm so sorry, guys, that I haven't said any. First of all, hello, everyone. I know there are lots of you who will send me lots of hearts and hello. Just I need time to say hello. And if there is any question, I'm happy to answer. You can choose them.
And use the comment box to ask your questions. And my last question is, how has COVID-19 disrupted your teaching activities? And is online teaching very effective for students as compared to in class?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, sorry. How has COVID-19 affected your teaching?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes. Well, it has affected a bit because, you know, not a bit, a lot. First of all, when you are at school, it's very important, the social part, the socialize. Which shouldn't be so important, in my opinion. But for the kids, it's vital.
Yeah.
So the fact that they can't interact like they used to, it makes them a bit anxious, a bit frustrated.
Yes.
And so it's quite difficult. We need to remind them all the time, you know, guys, mask on, don't get too close. So it's a bit of working hard on this. Plus, of course, there are a lot now of restrictions that we have to follow. And of course, to do that, it takes time. From my point of view, it was an absolute nightmare with disinfecting everything. So in England, I don't know in other countries, but in England, we are doing this system of the bubbles. Okay. So a bubble is a group of people that can actually interact with each other. So what we have done at school, we have made some bubbles like with ear groups. So, for example, year 7 and 8, it's a bubble, 9 and 10 is another bubble, and year 11 is another bubble. And we teachers and staff, we are another bubble. Okay. So the problem is, the bubbles can interact each other, so the kids can even, you know, they shouldn't be closer than 1 meter, even though sometimes it's a bit difficult. Yeah. But they can, for example, they can share equipment. So when they do a practical, they can share equipment with no problems. But if this equipment needs to be used from another bubble, then it needs to be thoroughly clean, yep. Which means that I have to disinfect everything. Yes. Or if I have enough of equipment, I can put it in quarantine, yep. For 72 hours. Mm-hmm. And of course, this has brought a lot of difficulties because yep. Sometimes you don't have enough equipment, sometimes you don't have much time to disinfect everything, yes. Sometimes it's quite hard to do it. And so, of course, jobs on jobs that are adding up. Yeah. So it has been quite stressful, to be honest. Also, we have now one lab because we had to convert some labs in classroom. Okay. So we had to do that because in our school, in England, I think it works everywhere like this. The kids just rotate in the classroom. So, for example, there is the drama classroom, the music classroom, and they move when they have this subject. But to reduce their moving around, yeah. We keep them now, because of COVID, we keep them in one classroom and we rotate. Yeah. And of course, you don't have enough classrooms. So we had to convert 2 labs into classroom, to form room. And of course, losing 2 labs, it was quite a shock because yeah. Now everything is to be done in one lab, yeah. Or if it's possible, you can do it in a classroom. Of course, if it's not dangerous. So a lot of risk assessment yeah. Because of course you have to be sure that you're doing it safely. Otherwise, it can be a problem. Yeah. And yeah. Also a lot of disinfecting between one group and another. So it's like, you know, working harder than before. Yeah. On the other hand, you can see that everything is going, to be honest, quite fine. We didn't have any cases at school, which is very good. Right. We just had 1 case in the nursery, and it was promptly isolated, and we didn't have any problem after that. So, to be honest, I think we're working well, and it's a lot of effort. What maybe we have learned from all this, how important is the teaching staff, how important are teachers, because sometimes this is a bit underestimated. Teachers are underestimated a lot, in my opinion. I think they have on their shoulder the responsibility to inspire the kids for their yeah. careers. Sometimes I don't think that all of them understand that fully. So how many of us have chosen a career rather than another because that very important teacher that changed your life? So this is something that we should never forget. Yes. We can actually change the kids' life. We can change their future. And so it's our responsibility to show them how to do it. Yeah. And it's important. So I think teachers, they have a great responsibility on their shoulder. And what they have done, I have seen my colleague, the sacrifices that they have done, being there, even sometimes, because sometimes you are scared, of course, you could take an infection, you could develop the symptoms, so sometimes you are scared, but even so, you keep doing it because you want to do it. And this is very, very admirable. I don't think teachers have been praised enough for that. I don't think, to be honest. And another thing is, what we have learned from this is how technicians are important. And I'm sorry to say this, because sometimes there is a bit of a friction between teachers and technicians. I'm very lucky because in my school, my science team is great. I mean, my teachers, the teachers that I work with are amazing, are my friends, and we really get along very well together. I've been always respected and treated very well, but I know from my technicians colleagues, sometimes of course, I talk with them, that is not always the case. Sometimes the technician is treated like he's less because he's not a teacher, and this is very sad. It shouldn't happen. And I think in this occasion, more than ever, we understood our role, because lots of people, they didn't have this a clear idea of what we do.
Yes.
So even the more reluctant teachers, they understood how it's important to have a good technician in the department, because we are the ones that have taken care of the risk assessment in the labs. We are the one that take care of the disinfection, of the quarantine of the equipment, doing even sometimes a rota for the equipment, because it's not easy. It's not easy to remember the kids that have used some equipment and now it can be used for other kids. So you have to have in mind a lot of things, which sometimes is quite complicated. Of course, we write it down. There's lots of systems going around which are very good and help us a lot. But I think in this occasion, we finally understood. I think it was maybe a good lesson for everyone, because we understood each other better. And I think we have learned a lot from this.
Yes. At least the COVID has brought some people closer by doing this. So, yeah. Well, we thank you very much for your time today. It was really great chatting with you, and I know you have a huge fan base. I can see it in the comments. Sorry.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Sorry, time to go through all the comments, but feel free to follow Emilia and ask her questions using her.
Yes, I always reply to the messages.
Yes.
But sometimes if I don't reply, it's because I didn't see it. I can't follow back everyone. It's impossible. I used to follow everyone back, but now it's become incredibly impossible. So I can't do that. But if you write a comment, I will get back to you. So no worries.
Emilia, she has always been active and she has always responded back. So thank you very much once again, and we wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays.
Thank you. To you as well. Have a wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year. And we hope for a new time, for a new year. Yes. I think we will be fine. Science will save us, I'm sure.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.